Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, friends. At least for the next 3 episodes, it's time once more to board that beauty, the NCC 1701, as we watch Star Trek, the original series, the 3rd and final season, episode 22, The Savage Curtain. Friends, even though we're coming to a close, there's nothing to it but to do it. This story is too good, these characters too great, and the companionship that you all provide too excellent. Friends, if you could do me a favor, hit that like button, smash that subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. It greatly helps out a small channel, and it allows me to alert you next time it's time for us to go live. And of course, if there's anything that we do that you would like earlier in its full-length format, the link to our Patreon is in the description. Not a fan of Patreon? Stick with us here on YouTube memberships. You'll get all of our episodes about a day early, plus any bonus episodes we come up with. But my dear friends, all that is then and this is now, and now it's time once more to journey into the stars with Jim Kirk and company as we watch Star Trek, the original series, Season 3, Episode 22, The Savage Curtain. Prepare to engage maximum warp reaction, and away we go! Cool planet, cooler beauty. Oh, thank God. Chekhov and Sulu.
Final readings. This will be our last orbit.
I still read a suggestion of carbon cycle life forms on the planet's surface, Captain.
Which is scientifically impossible under conditions there. Reading it now, Mr. Spock. It seems to indicate artificial power being generated in factor 7 quantities.
I like this. Go around the bridge.
Well, I think Starfleet should forget about those old space legends. There's no intelligent life here.
Oh, well, Plum has spoken, everybody. When we're off, no episode.
We are therefore going on to our next assignment.
Aye, sir.
Completing final orbit, Sue. Prepare to warp us out.
And just like that.
Alert status.
We're being scanned, Captain.
Bye. Plum, your thoughts? Honest Abe in space?
Captain Kirk, I believe.
President Lincoln?
Do I gather that you recognize me?
I recognize what you appear to be.
And appearances can be most deceiving. But not in this case, James Kirk. I am Abraham Lincoln.
Wait a minute. What's that below? It's a shark. We're jumping it. I'm joking. Jim's going to tell us about the final frontier. That's an open. You have cosmic Abraham Lincoln flying in a cosmic chair. Interesting. I mean, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. It is a, it's a start. On my bingo card for the 3rd to last episode of Star Trek, the original series, I did not have a visit from a former assassinated United States president in Abraham Lincoln, one of the Rushmore presidents. Silly me. I didn't have that. So I got to prepare myself. The writer could easily be Mary Todd. The Savage Curtain. Oh my God. Gene, Arthur Hyman, Gene again. Herschel Daughtry? I don't think we've had Herschel before. Never to be seen again. Herschel Daughtry.
They did scan us and our vessel, Captain. And doubtless obtained sufficient information to present this illusion.
Illusion?
Yes.
You should be directly over my position in... there. Exactly. 12 and 1/2 minutes. Until then, Captain.
Okay. First question, Abraham. What the hell are you doing on this molten lava planet? And we did pick up carbon-based life forms. That's what Spock said. To which McCoy immediately poo-pooed the idea. Vehemently poo-pooed it. Poo-pooed with extreme prejudice. Whoa.
An area of approximately 1,000 square kilometers. It measures completely Earth-like.
Perfect oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere.
How?
Jim, do you really believe he's Abraham Lincoln?
Yes, of course, Bones.
Presidential honors? What is all this nonsense, Mr.
I understand President Lincoln's coming aboard, sir.
How do you daft, man? No doubt to be followed by Louis of France and Robert the Bruce.
If so, we'll execute appropriate honors to each, Mr. Scott.
Aye.
I won't continue down this line of insulting.
When in Rome, we'll do as the Romans do.
We're mixing a lot of metaphors here.
For a moment, it appeared almost mineral, like living rock with heavy foreclaws. Settling down now to completely human readings.
What?
Security, stand ready.
Phaser team, set ready for a heavy stun.
I don't want to see any of that light stun shit. I want heavy. Let's give this a shot. I'll stop making fun.
Where are the musicians?
That's taped music, sir. A starship on active duty never carries an honor detachment.
Taped music, you say?
You were flying through space, bud. This is something that escapes your grasp?
What was the device used?
An energy matter scrambler, sir. The molecules in your body.
And he is matter, then.
Commander Spock, second in command. Engineering Officer Scott. And Security Officer Dickerson.
Dickerson gets a name, Eric.
Lieutenant Dickerson, you and your men may return to quarters. Mr. President.
I've said it a million times. Having a young security officer, or just a security officer, to like touch base with every couple episodes would have been really a fun journey.
I cannot conceive it possible that Abraham Lincoln could have actually been reincarnated. And yet, his kindness, his gentle wisdom, his humor.
Jim, you find this hard to believe? What?
643 miles, 2,021 feet,
Sulu in the chair. I love it.
I know that in my time, some use that term as a description of property.
But why should I object to that term, sir? You see, in our century, we've learned not to fear words.
Love that.
That on the planet's surface, you will meet one of the greatest living Vulcans in all the long history of your planet. My mind cannot recall his name, but I know he will be there.
Really? It's like producing like persons of note.
Jim, I would be the last to advise you on your command image.
I got that, Bones, but continue.
Yeah, right.
You're the science officer. Why aren't you, well, doing whatever a science officer does at a time?
He's not convinced.
I am observing the alien.
Well, at least somebody agrees with us. He's an alien.
Yes, of course he's an alien.
Somebody's going through the effort.
There's no doubt they want us down there for some hidden purpose. Otherwise, they would have revealed some logical reason for all of this.
Right.
Why Lincoln, Spock? Any speculation on that?
Honest Abe. Trustworthy.
President Lincoln has always been a very personal hero to you. What better way to titillate your curiosity than to make him come alive for you?
But he holds a special involvement to you, Jim. And I think it's interesting, inasmuch as you're the one who's going to make the decision whether to beam down or not.
You're daring Jim. You understand that. You're daring him. Because you have to have more concrete reasons not to go down.
Of our starships is contact with other life. Although the method is beyond our comprehension, we have been offered contact.
We have to respond.
Would I be on the edge of insubordination to remind the captain that this smells of something happening to him that I might not be able to patch back together again? Aye.
I'll put it in my report.
We will guide President Lincoln to the transporter room. We'll beam down immediately.
And you two can piss off. I've had enough of you, Plum. For 3 seasons, you've been bitching at me.
If they're wrong, and they do beam into a pool of lava,
Then they're dead men. I couldn't have pulled them back in time.
That was a well-delivered and grim line. I can't stop it. Their equipment didn't go. That ain't great. That is not great. I'm very curious about this episode, to be very honest. Like, who is using Lincoln to reach out? Is it for nefarious, or is it for, legitimate, like, communication reasons?
Kirk to Enterprise. Enterprise, come in. Kirk to Enterprise. Enterprise, come in.
He should have waited for a response. We knew that there wasn't going to be one because he kept going with his lines.
if they're all right, they should have reported in.
Oh, great. Power fluctuations.
I am Abraham Lincoln.
Just as I am whom I appear to be.
Serac,
Oh, wow.
the father of all we became.
Oh, my God. Father of Vulcan? I love it.
No damage report, Mr. Scott.
No indication of engine damage, sir.
Engage restart cycle.
I can't. I don't understand it.
Start emergency procedures.
Scott, you need to get down there.
There is no fact, extrapolation of fact or theory which would make it possible.
Whatever I am, would it harm you to give response?
Yeah.
Live long and prosper. Image of Serac.
Ooh.
As I turned, and my eyes beheld you, I displayed emotion. I beg forgiveness.
The cause was more than sufficient. Let us speak no further of it.
I like that. I saw some surprise there, Spock.
May we together become greater than the sum of both of us.
Spock will not go along with these charades any longer.
Don't speak for Spock.
You'll have an answer soon, Captain.
Ooh. What an outfit.
You're intelligent life form. I'm surprised you do not perceive the honor we do you. Have we not created in this place on our planet a stage identical to your own world? We shall communicate with your vessel so that your fellow life forms may also enjoy and profit from the play.
From the play, Abraham Lincoln's like, wait, play? Theater? No! Hi, everybody.
Genghis Khan, for one. And Colonel Green, who led a genocidal war early in the 21st century on Earth. Zora, who experimented with the body chemistry of subject tribes on Tiburon. Kalis, the unforgettable. Since this is our first experiment with Earthlings, our theme is a simple one. Survival. Life and death.
Is this combat or like a trial?
Survival.
The word is explicit. If you and Spock survive, you return to your vessel.
Wow.
If you do not,
You do not. We have some relatively high stakes here. Survival.
we beam the captain and Spock back up.
We don't have
Can't
the
lock
power.
onto
They'll
him.
come aboard a mass of dying flesh.
Jesus. Okay, never mind.
He skimmed the worst ones in history to face them.
But they're not real. Any more than that Lincoln or Serac.
Yeah, but the results are going to be real, Bones. Get past the idea. We all know that that's not really Lincoln.
Could there be aliens projecting an illusion?
The readings are those of humanoids.
I mean, it could be Lincoln, like a copy of Lincoln, but it's still a copy of Lincoln. It's not actually Abraham Lincoln.
Should you wish to use any, you may fabricate anything you desire out of what you can find around you.
Jim says, get me a bamboo tube. I need some phosphorus, I think. Was that what it was? Some diamond shards?
Mr. Spock and I refuse to participate.
You will decide otherwise.
I very much like that creature. Really well done.
Why do they want us to fight?
They want to judge.
Our concept of good and evil is strange to them. Perhaps they wish to determine which is strongest.
Captain Kirk? May I speak with you?
Sure.
What do you want?
Well, the same thing as you do, to get out of here. I have no quarrel with you any more than you have with me.
This guy's good.
Different than the way history paints you, Colonel Green.
History tends to exaggerate.
I like this guy.
Where do you come from?
I can't remember.
What do you propose?
That we combine forces and reason some way to overcome it. Don't let prejudice and rumor sway you. Captain.
Yep, the others are moving. Fire a phaser down there. By the way, Abraham Lincoln is kicking ass, if anybody didn't see that. Rewind that. He is kicking ass. He's flipping people and... Come on, pinches all around, Spock. Yeah, Lincoln's on Genghis Khan. This can't possibly be what they want to see between good and evil.
I think Colonel Green is right. That rock-like thing is our enemy, not those illusions.
For an illusion, my opponent carried a considerable punch.
The captain speaks wisely. Those four are not our enemy. We should arrive together at a peaceful settlement.
I actually am enjoying the shit out of this.
We offer you an opportunity to become our teachers by demonstrating whether good or evil is more powerful.
Oh, Jesus, Jim?
I must conclude that your species requires a cause to fight for. You may now communicate with your ship.
Yeah, he's gonna put the Enterprise in danger, so Jim's forced into doing something.
Deterioration has just started, sir.
Give me that again, man. I cannot hear you.
Mr. Scott, I have the captain.
What do you mean, wait a minute?
Scotty, beam us up fast.
I cannot. We have a complete power failure. We're on emergency battery power only.
What happened?
Who knows?
But the matter and antimatter are in red zone proximity.
What caused that?
Talk to Mr. Magma over there.
The estimate is quite correct. Your ship will blow itself to bits within 4 hours.
Are you sufficiently motivated, Jim?
What if they defeat us?
To save your ship and your crew, you have to win.
Wow.
James,
James.
the war is forced upon us. History repeats itself.
I like this way more than I should. And I think it's because we've had some stellar acting so far from Lincoln, from Serac, from the Colonel. Really good stuff.
The enormous power of the Enterprise has been neutralized, and we sit here watching, unable to assist.
I mean, it's very similar to Arena, but...
I want to make sure the odds are in our favor. Overwhelm and devastate, that's the way to get power and to hold it, and I mean to do that.
Overwhelm and devastate. I like that.
We'll use this as a base.
I wish we could go back to Vasquez Rock, Natural Park. That would have been...
You drink whiskey?
Occasionally, why?
Because you have qualities very much like those of another man I admired greatly, General Grant.
I was going to say, U.S. Grant.
Captain, logic dictates that we consider another course.
Negotiation?
Ultimately, we achieved peace, which has lasted since then.
Circumstances were different then, Serac.
The face of war has never changed, Captain. I will not harm others, Captain.
Yeah.
His convictions are most profound in this matter, Captain.
So are mine, Spark. If I believed that there was a peaceful way out of this...
The risk will be mine alone.
He's going to go.
You saw how treacherously they acted.
Oh, yes. But perhaps it's our belief in peace that is actually being tested.
I like that. They're just wanting to see how far we're willing to... what the concept of peace goes.
May you live long and prosper.
Peace and long life. See a different film quality? Not fully processed or something. Damaged in some way. Don't kill him. I actually like this guy.
Let's hear what he has to say.
Yeah.
We may find it useful.
I do like Colonel Green, too.
Are you surrendering?
I'm doing what I consider best for all of us. If you choose to regard that as surrender...
Sure.
The others are preparing to attack.
No, Colonel. They are at their base, awaiting an answer.
How can I believe that? No one talks peace unless he's ready to back it up with war. What do you have to gain if we accept?
Nothing but the knowledge that I have done what I believe in.
And what do I get out of it?
Life.
You said yourself, Colonel, that we have common cause to survive. Together we can.
Yeah. He's worried.
Your Serac is a brave man.
Men of peace usually are, Captain.
Oh, I love that.
In Vulcan, he is revered as the father of our civilization.
Men of peace usually are. Oh, I love that.
Soon.
Help me, Spark!
Yeah, they're trying to bring you out.
Help me, Spark! Spark! Help me!
That's not him.
I should never have let him go.
You had no choice, Captain.
Yeah, he's has his own free will.
How can you ignore that?
A Vulcan would not cry out so.
It's not him.
Whether he's a Vulcan or not, he's in agony.
Jim, they're working you now.
But you can just listen to it and do nothing. I can't.
Jim, I love you, buddy.
What I propose is that I circle around to their rear while you two provide a frontal assault.
What will you do?
Why, slip into their camp and free him.
Unless he's already dead.
James. Remember, I was something of a backwoodsman. I doubt that you could do what I was bred to.
I can't let you risk it, Mr. President.
Well, I am no longer president.
Ha!
We fight on their level with trickery, brutality, finality. We match their evil.
No.
I gave orders that sent 100,000 men to their death at the hands of their brothers.
Your campaign, Mr. President.
Did you guys bring enough spears?
Sora, Kalis. No, wait.
They just get lucky. Ah! I mean, at some point they're going to say, "Where's Lincoln?" Rock fight. I think he might already be dead. Some additional sound design would have worked well here. Like heavier rock falls. Heavier sounding rock falls, I should say. I think Sirach's already dead. He's going to get around. He's going to have a spear in him or something.
It was a worthy effort, Zorak. Worthy. No need to blame yourself for its failure.
He's dead.
Mr. Lincoln.
James, stay back.
Oh, does he have a spear in his back? Oh. All right, you know what? We are going to kill you motherfuckers now. I legitimately like this episode. he says apologetically. Yeah, Genghis Khan's a problem. That guy's huge. Yeah, Colonel Green, he's got... Take him down, Jim. Bill Shatner. Bill Shatner with the stunt choreo. I'm just great.
You are the survivors. The others have run off. It would seem that evil retreats when forcibly confronted.
How many others have you done this to? What gives you the right to hand out life and death?
The same right that brought you here. The need to know new things.
Technically, no one's dead, you know? He just effed with you, Jim.
You'd never know that anything had been out of order. I can't fathom it.
So, we should be on warp power within 30 minutes, sir.
Good.
Let's get the hell out of here.
Mr. Spark? Any explanation?
Conjecture, Captain, rather than explanation.
What do you got?
So they were able to create images of Surak and Lincoln after scanning our minds and using their fellow creatures as source matter. Perhaps, in a sense, they were real, Captain. Since they were created out of our own thoughts, how could they be anything but what we expected them to be?
Yep. Your perception of them.
There's still so much of their work to be done in the galaxy, Spark.
Oh, look at her. Look at her. God, I love that ship. It almost like chokes me up. It doesn't almost, it chokes me up. All right, everybody, we just finished watching The Savage Curtain, the 22nd episode of the third and final season of Star Trek, the original series, and the only thing left to do is talk about it. All right, everybody, we just finished watching the 22nd episode of the third season of Star Trek, the original series, The Savage Curtain. Boy, oh boy, I enjoyed this one quite a bit, friends. And you know what? It was very simple. I probably shouldn't have enjoyed this one, but it did because, one, I think the performances were very, very good. I think that the actor playing Lincoln was great. Sirach was great. I thought that the Colonel was great. I thought that we had, Callus, the Klingon, was really good. I think everybody on ship did a good job. I mean, we had a lot of really good kind of like debate and back and forth between Scotty and Bones against Spock and Kirk, a dynamic we usually don't see. Really interesting way to go about the episode. Now, again, to me, it bore a lot of similarities to Arena, a lot. But with that being said, there was more to it. There was more of a story to it. And then, and instead of just like, a confrontation with the Gorn, this was a real exploration into what really the Federation was all about. And I enjoy that. I mean, in Arena, we had, and you know what, I didn't catch the name of these rock creatures. It was something like Excalcia or something like that. So I don't know exactly what they're to be called, but and I hate saying the rock creatures, but that's where we are. But with the Metrons and Arena, that was again an exploration into both, how humanity responded to a threat, how the Gorn responded to a threat, and basically, a judgment on both of their, only one was going to, walk out of that one in the original sense. With this one, I like the idea too that to me, what made the whole episode work was this. When the rock creature said, I'm doing exactly what you're doing. You're going out and exploring. When people come to me, we make our judgments and our explorations kind of on planet. It's almost like, we're ordering out for our exploration and our communications with other cultures and species. We're getting them delivered. And then we're seeing once you get here whether or not that it's something that, people we want to deal with. Who do we have out there in the universe? How do we categorize humans and Vulcans? It was an interesting approach because I think again, I go back and forth because, we didn't actually see any hostility from these rock people. I mean, they reached out. We were getting ready to leave. They reached out and said, no, wait a minute. Maybe you can come back. Here's Lincoln. Is there somebody you want to see? And we had presumably been there for a while. So at the very least, they kind of scoped us out before they made a move. They scoped us out until it was just about time for us to leave. And they thought, nah, they're worthy of kind of a test. And I like that. I like that they took their time, that there wasn't something that, normally right when we get to a planet, there's a problem. We were getting ready to leave. We were getting ready to roll out. And then they kind of hatched their plot. And to me, that makes all the difference because it shows to me that there was a willingness to observe. It wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. It was like there was like almost like a pre-test, where they were looking at us and saying, okay, well, they don't seem to be aggressive, but we have questions, and they scanned us and figured out that good and evil was basically, if that's our determining factor for somebody to deal with or how we categorize people or whatever it was that they kind of gleaned from the scans that they gave. Doing good and evil is an interesting concept to approach, and the fact is we sort of failed. You know what I mean? We sort of didn't really do that well. I mean, Serac did, Lincoln did. Lincoln kind of fell in line with us, but Serac, definitely spoke of the Vulcan principles of peace. This is another approach to do so. And I'm kind of weirded out by the idea that the rock creature didn't say, well, this person sacrificed themselves in the trying to not fight. We don't get any bonus points for that. I mean, should they have all come forward and sacrificed themselves? Again, it doesn't make sense. And two, we're not sure how far they were willing to let this little test go. Were they willing to actually have these constructs kill Spock and Kirk? I mean, you would think. Now, was the threat of blowing up the Enterprise just that? Or what do they mean to follow through with it? We don't know. And just because, these rock creatures look sort of monstrous, with this kind of, golem-esque movements, like I'm talking like a stone golem from D&D, these big kind of automaton looking, I should say elemental, shouldn't I? Yeah, like an earth elemental looking type of thing. But again, I'm not going to assume that that makes them evil or murderers because they didn't exhibit that. They didn't show us getting, they had a specific test that they wanted to give. And ultimately, even though they weren't convinced that there was any difference between good and evil, which is what they wanted from the test, they wanted to know which one was stronger, good or evil. And they didn't get an answer for that. And even though the test didn't produce any answers or anything like quantifiable that they could be able to like say in the future, okay, here's how we can approach humans or here's how we can approach Vulcans. They didn't seem to get what they wanted from the entire process, but they released the Enterprise and they released Jim and Spock to go back. So, again, there's things that you say and there's things that you do. And the actions of the rock people spoke a different story than what they were kind of spinning with their words as far as the threats that they were giving out. I don't know, friends, what do you all think? I mean, I would suspect that, the Savage Curtain is something that falls, firmly into the season 3, derivative. Like, again, very similar to Arena. We have, we even have like the kind of all-powerful alien like the Metrons. We have the rock people. You know, we have these different ways that they're able to go about wanting to get these answers, but I feel that there is a different outcome with this one, almost like a shoulder shrug by the rock people, like, we're probably not going to deal with these people anymore because, you know, we didn't get the answers we wanted. There's no real difference with them. You know, the way that the evil people acted and the way that the evil and the way that the good people acted wasn't enough for us to like really kind of put our necks out. You know, Jim tried to attack. So if I had to speculate as to what would go on in the future, even after the report came out that, hey, there is life on this planet, be careful. You know, like I'm sure that there's some type of report that Jim and crew sent back to say, hey, watch out. You know, this is something that looks benign, but could ultimately be a problem for any Federation craft that comes out here in exploration. Something tells me that they're not going to have a problem if they came out there, because I don't think that those creatures, I think they got what they wanted from humanity and the Vulcans. And that was, we're not interested. We're not interested in doing anything, you know, with this, with these two races, because we just don't understand them enough to enter into any type of diplomacy or trade or a federation or anything like that. It was interesting, very interesting. But friends, like most of these episodes we have for Star Trek, the original series, there are always questions left unanswered. And a lot of them deal with what went on behind the scenes, things that we couldn't possibly answer or be expected to know without ruining the episode for us. But there is one person that we can go to, one almighty being, much like the Metrons, that can be able to give us at least a little glimpse of what went on behind the camera of this particular episode. So friends, join me if you will as we call for General. Greetings and salutations, my friends. 'Tis I, leader of men, lover of women, and best friend to Jim Kirk, General Trelane, retired. Friends, this is where, after having watched and reacted to an original series episode of Star Trek, I like to dig a little bit deeper and find out what went on behind the camera. Elements that, had I looked up beforehand, would have ruined the episode for me. But to keep myself on the straight and narrow and not off into the weeds talking for 3 hours, I've given myself 5 categories to explore. The first of which, writer and director. Who were they? The second, guest stars. Did we have any? The third, of the core cast, or the Big 8, who was present? The fourth and juiciest of the categories, the production notes, what went on behind the cameras. And last but certainly not least, category 5, a memorable quote from this episode. Let's get started. All right, my friends, and for our very first category of writer and director, who did we have? Well, we had several writing credits on this one. Story by Gene Roddenberry and the teleplay by both Gene Roddenberry and Arthur Heinemann. Arthur was last seen with his credit on The Way to Eden. Now, for our directorial credit, I was misinformed. When I saw Herschel Doherty's name on this, I thought, oh, I don't think we've ever had Herschel. We have, for one episode way back in season 1, Operation Annihilate. Let's move on. Now for our second category of guest stars, did we have any? Well, of course we did. We had some very historical figures apparent in this one. First and foremost, Lee Bergere, I believe, as Lincoln, Barry Atwater as Sirach, Philip Pine as Colonel Green, and I added this one in because I've always wanted somebody like this, R.L. Blanton as Chief Security Guard Dickerson, and last but certainly not least, Bart LaRue as the voice of Yarnak. Also, Bart has done numerous voice acting, best known on the original series, best known probably for the Guardian of Forever. Let's move on. And now, friends, for our third category of the core cast, or the Big 8, who's present? Well, who are the Big 8? We've got Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Sulu, Scotty, Uhura, and we also have Chekhov and Chapel. Everybody represented in this episode except for Nurse Chapel. Let's move on. And now, friends, for our fourth category of the production notes, the spiciest of all the categories, what went on behind the cameras? Because as we've often said, especially in season 3, the story behind the cameras is sometimes just, if not more entertaining than the one in front of the cameras. Let's get started. All right, friends, and for our very first production note, in the original script, before several pass-throughs had gone through it, both by the creatives and the studio, we had a couple different people on the teams. The original teams consisted of these few different historical figures. The good team included Socrates. The evil team included Adolf Hitler. For reasons of, I guess, brevity with getting rid of Socrates and putting in Sirach, and making it more kind of compatible with Spock, that was apparent for the good team. But for the evil team, they didn't want to address Hitler at all. It was, could we put him in there? Sure. Should we? We don't even want to talk about him. And so that was kind of the statement that they went. Is there anybody else we could throw in there? And that's how we have our teams, friends. Let's move on. And now, friends, for our second note in production notes, and this one I love quite a bit because Colonel Green's red jumpsuit was also worn by another infiltrating alien. Mork, as played by the late and great Robin Williams. The jumpsuit was repurposed for his spacesuit in that sitcom. Friends, let's move on. And now, friends, for our third production note, with the appearances of Kahless and Sirach, this notes the final appearances in the original series of both the Klingons and guest-starring Vulcans. Of course, Spock is there, but last time we see some of our mainstays as the Klingons and the Vulcans have quit the stage. Let's move on. And now for our fourth production note, my friends, with the deaths of Sirach, Lincoln, and Colonel Green, that marks our last in-episode deaths of the original series. With our last two episodes, if there are any deaths, they are taking place either before the episode begins off camera. They do not consist of the events of the episode, so thus marks the last time we actually see anybody expire in the original series. Let's move on. And with our fifth and final production note, this one is very sad and shocking to me because I just didn't see it coming, but this episode finally and sadly marks the last appearance of Nichelle Nichols as Uhura. It is and also the last time that we see the original 7, I guess. I always add Christine in there, but of the original 7 ensemble Star Trek, the original series members, this is the last time they are all on the small screen together. Let's move on. And now, friends, for our fifth and final category, a memorable quote from this episode. Well, I had to go with this one, friends, because I thought it was beautiful, haunting, all the great things that a Star Trek quote should be. And this one is from Spock and Kirk. Kirk says, "Your Sirach is a brave man." And Spock says, "Men of peace usually are, Captain." Thus ends another installment of Q&A, until such time as you and I get to play with our dear friend Jim again. Behave yourselves.